Operation Rising Lion? Was it self-defense? Was it something more calculated? What are the stakes for America? Is this the start of peace in the Middle East, or is it the opening act of another trillion-dollar war that has a heavy cost to America, including lives? So, Anna, I'm going to let you start us out here. Go ahead.
Sure.
Put on my flag.
All right. Well, on Thursday of this week, Israel carried out strikes in Iran, essentially beginning what is now referred to as a war. The strikes were carried out right before Donald Trump, the president of the United States, of course, was supposed to have another round, I believe the 6th round of diplomatic negotiations with Iran to get a nuclear deal, a new nuclear deal, because in 2018, Trump ripped up the original nuclear deal, which prevented Iran from enriching enough uranium to build nuclear weapons. That brings us to today, where you have the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, for literally decades, trying to push the United States to go to war in Iran on Israel's behalf. He decides to carry out this strike. There's now evidence indicating that Trump did give him his blessing to do this. And so what's the argument? Well, of course, Israel is making the self-defense argument. And I'll give you a little taste of what Netanyahu had to say when he was on Fox News being interviewed by Bret Baier just yesterday. Take a look. No, first video that I sent you. 1 second.
All right, guys, we're going to get right into it, man. We're going to break this whole altercation down between, it was Anna Kasparian of the, I believe she's with the Young Turks, with my man Sank, right? Shout out to Sank. I love his takes. And then we have also a failed Manosphere podcaster, a mediocre one as well, guys, Adam Sosnik, right? So they're on this show called Her Take, I believe. So they're trying to, combat with the View, because the View's more left-leaning. These women are, what I'm assuming, more right-leaning, except for Anna, I believe. But I guess they're trying to, compete with the View's left-wing leaning propaganda. Anyways, whatever. This gets really heated over the situation going on in the Middle East, guys, and the mediocre podcaster Adam Sosnik makes some really trashy arguments. We're going to debunk all those like we always do with facts. And let's get right into it, man. Let's see.
Anna just wanted more screen time, so just excuse me 1 second. Right, Natalia's doing a good job pulling this out.
So funny.
But Bret Baier landed that interview. Congratulations. Bret Baier is a G.
Did you see him rapping on stage? Bret Baier is amazing.
Bret Baier can rap?
Oh my God, yeah, he's great.
Okay. He's probably the best person they have on Fox. Shout out to you, Bret Baier.
I just liked it in the text exchange, so you'll know which video I'm talking about.
Alrighty, guys.
And I'm going to go in that order, so you guys know how I'm going to present this.
Give a quick summary of what the central thesis is that you want to talk about.
Okay, so, all right. Let's just forget the videos, I guess. So basically,
pull it up,
yeah. So Netanyahu argues, we have intelligence indicating that Iran is on the precipice of developing nuclear weapons, and that poses a threat to Israel.
This is 1978.
At the same time, though, we have Tulsi Gabbard. Can we pull up that video, Tulsi Gabbard? In March, Tulsi Gabbard gave a briefing. She is the Secretary of the Department of National Intelligence. And so she's talking about the threat that Iran poses. She's specifically addressing them allegedly building nuclear weapons. Now, this is in March of this year. Take a look.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program. In the past year, we've seen an erosion of a decades-long taboo in Iran on discussing nuclear weapons in public, likely emboldening nuclear weapons advocates within Iran's decision-making apparatus. Iran's enriched uranium stockpile is at its highest levels and is unprecedented for a state without nuclear weapons.
So without nuclear weapons, they're not building a nuclear bomb. That's what she clearly states during this hearing back in March. Then you have Netanyahu making it appear as though, oh my God, they're about to drop the nuke on Israel. There's no evidence of that. There's no indication that they're building a nuclear weapon. And more importantly, now you can go to the last video I sent you, because this is a video from 2002. And I should also note, dating all the way back to the 1990s, Netanyahu was saying that Iran is about to obtain a nuclear weapon. This has been a narrative by Netanyahu for literally decades. And here's what he had to say back in 2002. Obviously, this was after 9/11, but before the United States did the preemptive war in Iraq. Israel was trying to goad the U.S. to invade Iraq, even though Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. Nonetheless, here's what Netanyahu said.
And this is a tyrant who is feverishly trying to acquire nuclear weapons. And today the United States must destroy the same regime because a nuclear-armed Saddam will place the security of our entire world at risk. It is simply not reflecting the reality to assume that Saddam isn't feverishly working to develop nuclear weapons. If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region. Principles of real estate, the 3 L's, location, location, location. The 3 principles of winning the war on terror are the 3 W's, winning, winning, and winning. The more victories you amass, the easier the next victory becomes. The first victory in Afghanistan makes the second victory in Iraq that much easier. The second victory in Iraq will make the third victory that much easier. Less than dismantling his regime will do.
Okay, so whether you're talking about Iran,
Let me just interrupt. Let me just chime in here really quick, man, just to get some context going. So that was Netanyahu. He's been, talking about Iran obtaining nuclear weapons. That was you guys got to understand, that was the pretext to invading Iraq, right? And then when the U.S. denied that, right, when George Bush Sr. actually told Netanyahu to fuck off, I think he was like, he lost his first term, right, to Clinton, and then some other shit went down, and then eventually they got to George W. Bush, and then there was the false flag, which was, the attack on the World Trade that they used as like a cover up, as like, oh my God, it was Iraq that did it, and no, it was the Muslims that did it, and there was this whole like campaign, and that it was like some random Muslims in the caves of Afghanistan. When we find out later on that like no, it was Saudi Arabian intelligence working with Mossad, but the American public was for the most part like completely ignorant, right? They can't point in Afghanistan or Iraq on the map if you gave them $1,000, right? And you told them you tried to bash it into their head where these places are at. They wouldn't know, right? So they were able to play that manipulation game, which cost America trillions of dollars several years into these countries that now have become stronger as a result of their experience with combating American soldiers in the pretty much the entire West, right? Israel didn't even send a soldier; they had American brain kind of do their dirty work. 4,000 troops died. You guys know the deal, right? So they're using the same pretext to essentially invade Iran or start a war with Iran. And again, they're using the same propaganda techniques. I mean, I looked at Netanyahu. He had the same. If you look at the people behind him, it's the same people in his government till today. Okay, so these are the same eggheads still trying to push this narrative. And they think that if they're able to topple Iran, that they will have complete control over the Middle East for at least 100 years, right? But this is the issue, right? Iran has already signed the non-proliferation treaty, which I believe is a mistake, but we can talk about that later. The IAEA went to Iran and inspected their nuclear reactors. They're developing. They have these nuclear facilities, and at the time they were at like 3.76%, which is by international law is completely legal. Right? Some people make the argument like, well, they have a lot of oil. Why are they developing the nuclear weapons? Because usually people like, certain countries have to do that because of issues with electricity and energy and all that shit. So, but they have oil, so they can export oil, and they have all these other resources because Iran's like the breadbasket of the Middle East, right? So they have all these resources. Why are they developing nuclear energy, right? So, anyways, Iran signs the IAEA. The government of Iran, which is a theocracy, by the way. A lot of people don't know that. It's a theocracy. So every anything that they have to, I guess, pass or any type of legal issue or anything to do with anything has to go through a religious jurisprudence of a set amount of individuals that base their decisions based on like Islamic theology and Islamic law and whether it's something that can be permissible. Essentially, like the supreme leader and his jurisprudence, like the group of theologists, came to the conclusion that a nuclear weapon is a sin, right? Because when you use a nuclear weapon, obviously, you know, there's a lot of there's going to be unexplainable damage, and at the same time, you're killing innocent people in the same breath that have nothing to do with they might not be, you know, someone who's considered an enemy or an oppressor, so to say. So, and it causes severe human damage, a severe human, you know, loss of life, and it's just not something that aligns with a theocracy or a religion, any religion, not necessarily just Islam. So they know and understand that, right? So Iran didn't develop the nuke, right? Because the government is basing all their laws and policies based off religion and whether it's religiously acceptable. So now, Netanyahu is starting to realize, like, oh shit, Iran has like this very sophisticated ballistic missile system that's penetrating, you know, all our air defense systems, and they're stockpiling, and they're gonna get to a point where they're developing 300 of these a month. You know, and they have hundreds of thousands already. And now his country is essentially, if they do go to war, if Iran and Israel do go to war, his country could be under a severe existential threat where his entire entity will collapse, literally, right? Which what we're seeing now. You know, we're seeing them they're getting spanked left and right with Iranian missiles over their heads, right? So, which again, we're not agreeing with any side. We're maintaining a neutral stance here. But that's the pretext to what happens later on. But let's keep going with the video.
Whether you're talking about Iraq, whether you're talking about Libya, whether you're talking about Afghanistan, there has been this orchestrated effort, specifically by Netanyahu. He's been kind of like the mouthpiece for it. But the government of Israel has been trying to get the United States to fight its wars for Israel, to the detriment of Americans. We went into Iraq. 4,000 of our soldiers died based on a complete lie. There were no weapons of mass destruction. There was no indication that they were developing nuclear weapons. It was a lie. And I believe that right now what's happening is Israel does the strike. Okay, I think Trump made a huge mistake by giving that strike, or giving these current strikes that Israel is doing, his blessing. I think he was under the assumption that that would bring Iran to the negotiating table and give the United States more leverage. But that is not what's going to happen. Now Iran is in full-blown war with Israel, to the point where Israel is trying to get the United States to fight offensively, not to just defend Israel, but to fight offensively. So I give you that because people are going to die. People are already dying. On the Iranian side, as we speak right now, upward of 220 Iranians dead. On the Israeli side, it's now in the dozens of innocent people dead. And I think this is really part of what's known as the Greater Israel Project, right? They want to have dominance in that region, and they want to install puppet governments. And so in the case of Iran, Netanyahu can barely contain himself when it comes to wanting regime change. But it is always a bad idea when you have a third party or a foreign government carry out or orchestrate regime change in your own country. We have seen how that works out. It destabilizes countries. Look at Libya. That's a perfect example. Libya gave up their nuclear program, and you know what they got in return? American boots on the ground to do regime change war. So my issue here is that we're being lied to, and we're being lied to the detriment of Americans and to, I guess, to the benefit of Israel, and I don't think that's okay.
Adam, do you want to? I actually have some thoughts, but I know you're far more well-versed than me.
Well, I mean, I'm an American first, so respectfully, what's your point?
My point is the United States should not be backing Israel.
Oh, God. All right. This guy's so ass, man. Like it's unreal. But let me touch on a point she made because this is golden. So she said, you know, and last time because essentially now the U.S. and Israel are going to Iran, pretty much letting them know, like, hey, look, we don't even want to allow you to be able to enrich the 3.76% that you're allowed to by international law. We want you guys to dismantle all your nuclear programs, all your facilities, and pretty much get rid of the entire thing, right? So Iran's like, why the fuck would I do that when by international law, I'm legally allowed to have, you know, to at least do up to 3.76% of uranium enrichment for energy purposes. And the last person that did that was Muammar Gaddafi of Libya, right? And he got, like, they literally went in there, got rid of all his nuclear facilities, all his nuclear, you know, all their enrichment and all that shit, the WMDs and everything that he was doing. And literally 2 months later, when Barack Obama was president, he was being sodomized in the middle of the street, right? They literally sodomized the guy to death. Okay, and now the country's like a large, it's pretty much like a large human trafficking slave trade going on there, and they're like taking pretty much, you could buy slaves, and they're taking sub-Saharan Africans, and they're, you know, flooding Europe with different types of immigrants coming from Africa, and it's a whole fucking mess in Libya, right? It's unexplainable. But that's essentially what happened. So Iran's like, why the fuck would we do that deal again, right? Anyone with any logical sense. But you got to understand that they're bullying Iran into this deal, essentially. It's either that or go to war. So Iran chose, it's like, no, we're going to war.
In this war of aggression against Iran.
So
Iran is not a threat to our national security. There's no evidence of that whatsoever.
I don't think that's true, Anna.
Based on what?
Okay, based on the fact that she just said they have a huge amount of enriched uranium.
They
We know
do.
They have 6 to 10 bombs worth. So let's start with that.
You want to know who has nuclear weapons? Israel.
I know, but Israel is not.
Allegedly.
Hold on.
No, not allegedly.
Hold on.
Not allegedly.
Hold on. There's a difference. Israel is not chanting death to America.
By the way, just for context, guys, and this doesn't matter, but Jillian Michaels is her and Adam Sosnik are both ethnically Jews, which nothing wrong with that, right? Shout out to all the beautiful Jewish brothers and sisters, you know, but they're like Jews that support the Netanyahu Nazi regime in Israel. So that's like, you know, so just for context, okay? So you're going to see some of these faulty arguments,
They're
and we're
not
going to break them
ideologically
down
captured.
here.
On top of that, they just got detonators, which makes them more dangerous. What is the proof that they're doing this? They have
Again, another fucking weird ass lie. So they're not ideologically captured when everybody has already pretty much come to the conclusion that this is the people in Israel now, the government in Israel has been the most extreme religious zealots that Israel has ever had. The Likud party, by the way, you can look this shit up, right? They're extreme religious zealots that want to rebuild the Temple of Solomon, and they use references from the Bible or whatever they believe in, you know, Amalek and all that shit to refer to Palestinians. And so these are the most ideologically, you know, corrupt people. They're just as ideological as like ISIS. You know, these guys are batshit crazy. And you can look all this shit up. Like, there's several resources online that tell you what exactly their plan is, and they have literally like a written book of what they want to do with Persia, and they're trying to implement that now in the situation with Iran. But let's keep going.
nuclear sites that both.
Jill, this is the same Iraq narrative. How are we falling for it again?
I agree with you that I don't want Iraq ever again, but I see.
But we're
vast
driving toward that. We're totally driving toward that.
Just because you're right on something doesn't mean you're right on everything.
I'm right on everything when it comes to this.
So that's where you made a problem.
Yeah.
Is that you just
tell me where I'm wrong. Tell me where I'm wrong.
That you're right on everything.
Your weapons, though.
Tell me where I'm wrong.
I just want to finish this one.
Are you going to go fight? Are you going to enlist and go fight on behalf of Israel?
I have family. I have friends that are in the IDF.
Okay,
how many family and friends do you have
they're in Israel. If you're American,
if we're gonna have a discussion,
you should not be calling for American soldiers to fight Israel's war.
You just ranted,
okay, hold
and
on.
I'm going to talk now. I'm going to ask you one question.
Okay, Adam, go.
But if we're going to talk, and then let me talk,
Let me just say one thing. One thing, real quick. One sentence.
I don't get to talk. You kept going.
You do.
Hannah, welcome to your show. Go ahead, sweetheart.
The country that is currently carrying out a genocide in Gaza has nuclear weapons, and they have the audacity to talk about how other countries in the region are a threat to their national security. Okay.
Cool. Let me just say one thing. Here's the thing. I appreciate that Netanyahu is a
terrible
deeply flawed person.
Yep.
Okay. And I appreciate that nobody wants to see Iraq again. But on top of the fact that I do think there is some legitimate concern at this moment with regard to nuclear weapons, there's also intercontinental ballistic missiles.
Every country has that. Are we going to invade every country because they have missiles?
Death to America. They're the top funders of terror. The Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, the Shia militias. They have assassination plots against our president. There's cyber attacks.
There's no evidence of that either, by the way.
Where does that said that?
The CIA loves to go to
The CIA said that. We know what the CIA is about. All that has not been proven. Like, there hasn't been no substantial evidence presented to anyone that Iran was behind the initial assassination attempt of Donald Trump. If anything, everybody in America who has half a brain could know and digest that. We know who wanted him dead. Okay, the alphabet. 3-letter alphabet boys, okay? So let's stop fucking playing games here. But this is the type of propaganda they use. Like, oh my God, Iran's gonna, they're a day away from nuking America. And when Iran in some of these places, and I think there's a video of the leader explaining this, when he says death to American Israel, he says when they chant that, they are talking about the individuals in charge, okay? Not the American people. So, and I'm not trying to defend these guys. I'm just saying, you have to put everything in context, because this is the same type of bullshit propaganda they'll use, to drag us into their bullshit. So let's.
I want to understand your central thesis. Here's my question.
What is your central thesis?
That Iran is not
a threat to America. Iran is not a threat to America. There's no evidence that Iran is a threat to America.
Developing nuclear weapons?
They are part of.
Are they developing nuclear weapons or not?
They are not developing nuclear weapons. There is no evidence of that.
So why are they having nuclear peace talks?
Why do they have detonators
Because they think it's fun? What are you talking about?
Okay.
If we can't live in reality, they're having nuclear peace talks.
Let me answer your question.
To do what? To talk about the nuclear weapons that they're not developing?
Okay.
That makes no sense to me.
First of all, I would not be surprised if they geared up enriching uranium as a result of the fact that Trump pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal in 2018.
The Iran nuclear deal.
Hold on.
So they're developing nuclear weapons.
Hold on.
It's okay. Iran is part of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. Do you know what that is?
Go ahead, explain.
Non-Proliferation Treaty allows the international community to do checks on Iran to ensure that they are not developing nuclear weapons. The country that does have nuclear weapons is Israel. They are not part of the Non-Proliferation Treaty. They don't even acknowledge the fact that they have nuclear weapons. The idea that Israel, that has the backing of the top military superpower in this world, and that's the United States, the country that has nuclear weapons, is crying about how Iran is such a threat to Israel, it's ridiculous.
But didn't they just pull? I am not educated enough to fully go in, but what I did see everyone post this morning is that Iran is pulling out of that treaty.
Yeah, I did see that.
They broke the treaty as well.
So what are the implications? What does the treaty ensure in breaking it? What are the implications of that?
The treaty ensures that they're not developing nuclear weapons. Here's the problem. Iran played by the rules. And they got fucked anyway.
Why do you think Trump?
So let me understand one thing.
Let me ask you something.
Are you a defender of Iran? Is that who you are?
No, I'm not a defender of Iran. I'm a defender of the United States of America.
So he's completely getting obliterated, and what she's over here deflecting everything to him. Like, you go ahead, you're next. Come on, you could explain this better than me. She can't even get her arguments on, correct, and he can't either. We're going to listen to what he has to say, which is absolutely hilarious.
And our soldiers.
Sounds like you're defending Iran.
You know what? I think Israel needs to fight its own wars. Why do they keep pulling the United States into their wars?
America is not on the ground in Israel. I'm America first. There's zero
You're not
Americans.
America first. Don't say that.
You don't.
When you're egging on this war,
first.
you're not America first. We have soldiers in that region right now, tens of thousands of them who are now a target as a result of this.
So are you just do you hate Israel blindly that you can't address the facts? Or what is it?
What the current Israeli government, not just the current Israeli government, what the Israeli government over the last several decades has done in lying to Americans and the American government in order to get us to fight their wars for them. That's what I have a problem
blaming
with.
All the wars, and I agree we shouldn't have done what we did in Afghanistan, Iraq, and all that.
Yeah,
You're
in
blaming
10 years,
all
you'll say the
that.
same about Iran.
Our entire presidential, congressional, and military apparatus, all of that is based on Bibi Netanyahu's opinion?
Not
is that
just
what
his
you're
opinion.
saying?
The Israeli government
So you're saying that
wants to be the dominant force in that region. Can we pull up the Wesley Clark
newsflash,
video,
they
Matt?
are. They've just taken out all their enemies. So I don't understand, are you defending terrorists?
I want Lindy's been
Are you defending terrorism? I don't get it.
this entire
No, I'm not defending terrorists.
I don't know what
no
you're
other
doing.
country expects the United States to fight their wars for them other than Israel. Why is that?
Well, Ukraine's doing a pretty good fucking job. How about that?
Okay,
I was going to say.
All right, you see how this clown deflects to, using certain trigger terms, I like to call them, that resonates with the Western crowd, because they're not very well informed about, the Middle East or any geopolitics in general. He'll start throwing, oh, well, they're terrorists. You're supposed to be against them. What she's saying is completely true, right? Like the IAEA goes and inspects the Iranian nuclear facilities and ensures that they're enriching at a legal amount to where they don't actually get to where they have an actual bomb now, or they're weaponizing it, which is now they're at like 60-70%. So that's more of like, yo, we're trying to weaponize this shit. And again, they're using this for leverage because the IAEA is corrupt. It's been compromised by Israel, because we found out last week that they were name dropping nuclear scientists in Iran. So they're actually committing a war crime there, an international crime. They're name dropping nuclear scientists to the Israeli government. We found out that clown Rafael Grossi, which is a compromised piece of shit, is name dropped a bunch of scientists in Iran, which were essentially executed in the attack last Friday. They took out like 20 nuclear scientists, which, that's actually probably worse than executing an army general, right? Because the nuclear scientists are like, that's fucking 1 in a million. You don't have many nuclear scientists, right? Especially ones that know how to enrich and weaponize uranium. So that's a complete international war crime, so why would Iran continue to negotiate with an organization that stabbed them in the back, right, and is compromised? Like it's like them asking the IAEA to come in and inspect, and them negotiating with them is pretty much like Israel coming into Iran and inspecting their nuclear facilities, because they're going to debrief Israel on exactly where they're currently at, what their legal limit is, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a joke.
You're dead wrong on that.
In the case
and
of
there's
Ukraine,
also other countries that we get involved in.
Yeah,
and I don't see American troops on the ground in Israel, in Gaza, in Lebanon, in Syria, in any of these. Okay. So what you're doing is yapping and lying. Here's my problem with you. You can be loud.
Yeah.
And you can be wrong.
You don't have
Pick
any,
one.
You don't have
when
any
you're loud
actual
and wrong,
substantive
that's
points.
when you get in trouble, okay?
Okay.
When
just
we
because
invaded
Go ahead,
Iraq,
Lindy.
I've been trying to speak this entire. It's like 20 minutes in. I haven't said a single word.
Go ahead, Lindy. Go crazy. Go nuts.
Go ahead.
I don't want to be like.
Just go.
Well,
Lindy,
anyway,
just
so
yeah. Go.
I just want to say, just because you're yelling doesn't mean that you're correct, but that's not my main point. My main point is this. I'm not even pro the Netanyahu regime, but let's get our facts correct. Iran is completely desecrating all agreements that it's previously made. In fact, yes, can I finish?
They're not.
Just 2 weeks ago, they refused to let nuclear inspectors into their infrastructure, into their facilities. That is a clear violation of previous agreements. To say that that's not happening is completely dishonest and disingenuous. And I'm not even pro Netanyahu. I just want to lay out the facts here. This is what's happening. They are violating agreements.
Well, let me ask you something. If you
again, like, I don't want to be the bearer, like, because a lot of these panelists are very uninformed. Like the IAEA. Again, I told you what they did, right? They committed an international war crime. They name dropped nuclear scientists. They came out, the guy Raphael came out and admitted this. And not only that, like any strikes that Israel's doing in Iran, the illegal strikes that they're doing on their nuclear reactors and facilities and stuff like that, the guy Rafael Grossi is openly admitting that he contacts Netanyahu and briefs him on exactly what sort of damages might have occurred, you know, if there's any leakage, et cetera, and how they, so they're literally working against Iran. You know, Iran, you know, tried to negotiate with them. They allowed them into their country to inspect all this shit. They allowed them to look at, you know, exactly what the enrichment levels are, the fissile material and all that, right? And they're essentially working with the Israeli government to inform them of all the knowledge and, you know, and shit they know about with the Iranian nuclear program. And they're also giving them the names of the scientists, like the nuclear scientists in their country, and people, you know, they have little Mossad fucking underground tunnels of like Afghanis that are anti-Shia Islam and all that shit, and they're all running around, you know, finding out where all these nuclear scientists live, and that's how they kind of knew where to strike last Friday. So it's unreal how that, like, they'll leave that whole fucking debacle out.
Play by the rules for years. You literally play by the rules. You're part of the non-proliferation treaty. You're allowing IAEA inspectors to come into your country, and you still see that Israel is successful in goading the United States to fight this war. They're still lying about what Iran is up to. Wouldn't you just say, you know what, F it. Why am I even part of this? Why are we allowing the international community to come in and check?
So you're saying
what's
Iran
happening?
is playing by the rules?
Yeah, Iran
is that what you're saying?
Absolutely playing by the rules.
Then now I know who you are. You believe Iran. Respect.
I don't believe Iran.
So
I believe international inspectors, and I believe the United States as they, by the way, if you don't want Iran to...
Again, like, he's so stupid. Like, he'll look at it and be like, oh, so you believe in Iran, so you like the Iranians. As if, like, that's like some negative, like, you know, he's trying to play on the fact that there's this negative connotation with the Western media about, like, Middle Easterns or people in that region. Oh, they're low IQ camel jockeys. They're not going to know how to develop a nuclear weapon. You know, they're savages. They're screaming to, you know, death to America and all this shit. And they're terrorists, and you know, they're not capable of doing so. So these people are like projecting their own, you know, insecurities and their own failures with this campaign onto other people, and he'll sort of use that, which is again, I don't want to like get into you know, what he has to say, because everybody kind of knows like the dude's a fucking joke. But one thing I want to say is, guys, like, I already told you what happened with another country that did exactly what American Israel wanted them to do with their nuclear program, and they got absolutely fucking, like, the leader got sodomized in the middle of the street, and there's a, you know, the country's a hellhole, right? And they did that in Iraq as well, under the false pretext that Saddam had WMDs, right? And you have, you know, veterans coming back, like, they're all homeless. Like, Trump's now slashing the veteran affairs fucking and veteran benefits and shit. He's slashing Medicare and all these other support programs they have for a lot of these people. And they literally went and slaughtered, you know, Muslim lives, over 1 million lives in Iraq, under the false pretext that there was, like, that they were involved in 9/11 and that they have nuclear weapons pointed at America. And so, luckily, the American public, as I'm sorry to say this because I'm an American too, as fucking stupid as they are and ignorant, some of them are kind of waking up and being like, oh shit, this is kind of weird, right?
To develop nuclear weapons. Best way to do that is to remain in the Iran nuclear deal. But Netanyahu hated the Iran nuclear deal.
Trump pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal.
Trump pulled out of it, but why?
So what are we relitigating?
No, they did. That's not true, Jillian. That's not true.
You just moved the goalpost.
Yeah,
first you said...
I literally don't understand your argument.
Let's lay this out clearly here. Anna first said Iran is playing by all the rules. That's what you said about 5 minutes ago.
Yes, they were playing by all the rules,
I just told you that they refused to let nuclear inspectors into their facilities just 2 weeks ago. So now you move the goalpost and you're saying, oh, but it's not their fault because they didn't play. They played by the rules. Now they can not play by the rules because Israel isn't. Do you understand what I mean?
No.
Like, you're changing.
Okay, let me.
They've been letting them come in and inspect their nuclear facilities. I mean, I think the biggest mistake Iran made was signing the non-proliferation treaty and acknowledging that they do have a nuclear program. And I know it was done under the context that, like, okay, the religious leader banned it. You know, he deemed it as unacceptable or something that's against Islam. So, but this is the thing, man. Like, again, the IAEA is not playing fair with Iran. That's what they have to understand is like they're letting these people in, and behind closed doors, they're name dropping nuclear scientists. They're giving highly sensitive intel information to the Israeli government, which is has already proclaimed that they've been wanting this war since the 1970s. So Iran's cornered. Not only that, the U.S. and Israel want them to give up the legal right of them having a nuclear program that allows them to enrich up to 3.76% for energy purposes, right? So they're well within their right to do that internationally, okay? And they're telling them, no, you're fucking Iran. We don't like you. We see you as a bunch of sand dune terrorists, and we want you to do what we want you to bow down to us and do what we tell you to do, okay? Or we're going to blow everybody up. And that's their mentality. And these, these panelists, as blind as, I'm sure, as blind and as, unintelligent as they are, can't see that. Like, they can't see that and be like, oh, wow, this is a bully trying to bully another fucking, which is a Middle Eastern superpower. Iran's not Iraq in 2003. Let's keep it real, right? They have an ICBM system. They have fucking missiles surpassing the David Sling, the Iron Dome, the Arrow, the THAAD. I mean, they're not chopped cheese. So he's over here, Trump and Netanyahu are over here talking to Iran like they're, fucking, I don't know, like some other country that's like much weaker, right? They're talking to a full regional superpower, bro.
Let me calmly try to explain it so you guys understand what I'm saying. For years, Iran played by the rules because they don't want war, okay? They allowed the international community to come in. They did abide by the Iran nuclear deal, even after Trump pulled out. For a few years after that, they were not enriching uranium because they wanted to re-enter the deal. By the way, Biden comes into power. Biden promised on the campaign trail that he was going to re-enter the Iran nuclear deal. He didn't do that. So Democrats are a problem in this scenario as well. Hold on, let me finish my point. Let me finish my point.
So you see how I allow you to talk?
So I need to ask you something, Adam.
Go ahead.
Do you think Tulsi Gabbard was lying to the American people when she said that Iran was not building a nuclear weapon? Was she lying?
I don't know what information she's looking at, but I'm pretty sure Iran is working on a nuclear weapon. Question for you.
Sure, based on what?
Question for you.
Based on what?
Here's the
How
question.
are you sure?
She said they have enough enriched uranium.
She says that they have accelerated.
And if they're not working on nuclear weapons, why do they have detonators?
Okay, so what do you think is going to happen?
Scientists there.
How do you feel about the Islamic regime of Iran?
How do you feel about a country that's doing a genocide right now?
What a fucking non sequitur, fucking bullshit ass like. So this guy's over she's over here making like some excellent points here. Like, dude, like they've been trying to sabotage and bully this country for 40 years. Because they're becoming a regional superpower and they don't they're militant. They're not like going to bow down like fucking Jordan and all these other faggot ass countries. Right. So, and he's over here saying like, what about the Iran Islamic regime? Are you saying you support the Iran Islamic terrorist, camel riding regime? What a dumb fuck. I mean, dude, like this is the wrong, because bro, we're gonna cook his ass. Everybody is online. Everybody, my boy Myron's about to cook his ass. Everyone's cooking this dude because he's an absolute
nuclear weapons. Do you have any problems with that?
But let's say
can you address the nuclear weapons that Israel has, or are you going to deny that they have?
We're talking about Iran, right?
Okay. Well, we're talking about Israel and Iran.
Okay.
Israel is a military superpower because of the United States. They have nuclear weapons. They're carrying out the mass slaughter of innocent people in Gaza and the West Bank, which had nothing to do with October 7th. It's not. It's all related. We're pretending as if Israel is the devil here, and they're not.
I've learned my lesson. Don't try to convince someone who's completely off left field.
Someone who's actually educated on the matter, yeah.
So here's my question for you. How do you feel about the Islamic regime in Iran? Are they good people?
No, they're terrible people.
Okay, so
are
what do you
the Saudis. So are a bunch of other countries we do trade with.
That we have relations violations of the proliferation agreement
as bad as the Ayatollah. Why are people in Iran cheering for Israel? Why is
that's not true?
Yeah, no.
80%
of Iranians actually detest
Iranians
the regime.
are rooting for Israel. If there's one country that Israel has the highest approval ratings, it's within Iran.
Iranians.
Why is Reza Pahlavi getting on TV, doing an interview, pull it up, saying, please, Iranians, now's the time to revolt against the regime?
That's installed by Israel.
So I don't understand what you're doing, respectfully. You're defending Iran?
I'm defending the United States.
What a horrible position to be in.
Yeah, I'm defending the United States.
the country that yells death to America.
Right.
United States that
fighting this war. I don't want our soldiers fighting this war. I don't want American taxpayers.
You're using a straw man argument because our soldiers are not fighting this war.
But they're going to. It's like they could be any minute, and that's
no, they're not.
No, they're
not. They're not in Iran.
Well, what makes you say that? Because this whole thing is already so suspicious. The way they did
the argument is.
Fucking, you know, I'm done watching this shit, bro. This is like so pathetic. And the fact that he says, "Oh, we don't have American," so dude, there's like, last I checked, there's 50,000 American soldiers in U.S. bases all across the Middle East that don't have the Iron Dome, don't have the THAAD system, don't have all these fucking air defense capabilities. So if Iran hits them with the ICBM, it's fucking over for like 50,000 American soldiers, just because, you know, you guys wanted to poke the bear. And not only that, you know, this guy's over here claiming, again, like he's making the same, you know, stupid argument that like Iran is like hell-bent on destroying America and like they're trying to attack the fucking Israel, like Israel's under existential threat, which is complete bullshit because like, let's look at the region, right? Pakistan and India both have fucking nuclear weapons, right? Pakistan, which is highly more Islamic. Pakistan housed like, you know, Osama bin Laden, all these other fucking people and shit. Like, you know, Pakistan's way more, you know, of a threat. They have like 100 nuclear bombs. And I mean, like, so they're hell bent on Iran because Iran is, they don't want like another regional power that is not cucked. Let's just use that term, cucked, to the Western system, both financially and from a financial standpoint, and from like because they don't have any, you know, Rothschild fucking banking system in their country. They don't have American companies and all that shit, right? Kind of like how Russia is, right? They're essentially a much bigger threat because, you know, somebody like India or Pakistan, they do have nukes and they do have, you know, the Islamic, you know, theology. Well, not India, but Pakistan, they are Islamically, you know, Islam's the dominant religion and they don't like Israel, right? But again, like they still deal with America, right? So Trump had the Pakistani foreign minister there like fucking 2 days ago. And, you know, he pretty much said, "Oh, Trump deserves to win a Nobel Peace Prize." So I mean, the Taliban, they're paying them $40 million to just calm down and not do anything, right? Because they know that if the Taliban gets involved too, that's a whole nother deal in Iran. And Iran has, by the way, the geography of Iran is similar to Afghanistan, so it's going to be ground troops on the ground is a big no-no. It's like a Pakistan times 2, Afghanistan times 2. So whatever like they went through in Afghanistan times like 3 actually, because they're way more technologically advanced than Afghanistan militarily, and there's 90 million fucking people, right? A nation of 90 million. Like, fuck out of here, man. Anyways, man, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, man. Like, comment, subscribe. Do not fall for the propaganda. Do not fall for the propaganda because they are trying to suck the energy out of, you know, this country, guys. And we want a good future with a stable economy, right? And we want peace.